On Halloween night, the air was thick with excitement as Maya and Liam arrived at my house to go trick-or-treating. We were determined to fill our bags with sweets and emerge victorious in the candy haul competition. Our neighborhood was known for its festive decorations and welcoming neighbors who always made Halloween memorable. Each house was adorned with glowing pumpkins, cobwebs, and eerie figures, creating a spooky atmosphere that added to the holiday spirit. Armed with pillowcases for our candy collection, we set off, the thrill of adventure electrifying the night. As we approached the first house, laughter and anticipation filled the air. We rang the doorbell, and with a cheerful "trick or treat," we were greeted with candy and warm smiles. Little did we know, this would be the beginning of a Halloween night like no other. At the second house, something peculiar caught our attention. A tall, ominous figure lurked in the shadows nearby. The person was dressed in a bizarre costume, and from a distance, it was clear that they were far too old to be partaking in the festivities. An unsettling feeling washed over us as the stranger's eyes seemed to pierce through their peculiar disguise. As we continued along the dimly lit streets, we couldn't shake the eerie sensation that the tall figure was following us. They mirrored our every move, staying several paces behind. What was even more unsettling was that at every house we visited, the stranger would silently approach the door after us, knock methodically, and hold out their bag for candy. No words, just an unnerving silence. The homeowners reacted with confusion, some disturbed and others plainly annoyed. The mysterious figure's behavior was making us increasingly uneasy, and we exchanged worried glances with each other. Who was this person, and why were they mimicking our every step? We tried to shake them off, visiting houses at a quicker pace, but the stranger persisted, always a few steps behind, always knocking silently on doors. By now, even the friendliest of neighbors were casting wary glances our way, undoubtedly perplexed by the bizarre companion we had acquired. As the night wore on, a chilling atmosphere settled over our once jovial Halloween adventure. We were no longer focused on the candy, but on the unnerving presence that seemed to haunt us. The tall stranger never removed their mask, and the darkness concealed their identity, leaving us with countless unanswered questions. Our determination to enjoy Halloween waned with each silent knock on a door, and we grew increasingly paranoid. We felt as though we were being watched, analyzed, and toyed with by this enigmatic figure. Fear wrapped around our hearts, and our once eager strides turned into hesitant steps. As the night wore on, we finally decided to confront the stranger. With trembling voices, we asked, "Who are you? Why are you following us?" But the figure merely shrugged their shoulders. Maya, who was by far the bravest of the three of us, told the stranger they couldn't follow us anymore and to leave us alone. The stranger cocked their head to one side and dragged one finger down their cheek, mimicking a single tear falling from their eye. It was so uncomfortable that in that moment we froze, holding our ground but not wanting to risk really upsetting the stranger. Maya, who was totally fed up by now, raised her voice and told the stranger to get lost. The stranger slowly cocked their head to the other side, and then reached out and traced a finger down Liam's face, mimicking a tear falling from his eye. Liam jumped back in horror, and Maya jumped in between them. I grabbed Maya's arm and held her back, saying, "Let's go." We turned and started walking home, and to our surprise, the stranger didn't pursue us. They just stood there watching us. We were a few blocks from our house. There were still some houses we hadn't hit up yet, but Liam was so freaked out, we decided just to go home. As we turned down my street, we saw Liam and Maya's parents' cars parked by my house. Liam let out a deep breath that he had been holding since the awkward encounter. When we got to my house, our parents asked how things went. Maya started to tell the story of the mysterious stranger, but Liam cut her off and just said, "It was good. We got lots of candy. I'm not feeling good though. I'm ready to go home." Liam's parents took him home, and Maya and I looked at each other, wondering whether we should tell our parents about the story or not. That's when my mom said, "Oh, I forgot to tell you. One of your friends dropped by. I didn't catch his name, but they must be on the basketball team at your school because they are as tall as your father." My mom then described the costume the person was wearing, and it matched the exact description of the stranger's costume, except for one detail. My mom said that the stranger was carrying a fake knife, but the stranger didn't have a knife earlier when we had encountered them. Maya and I told our parents the story of the stranger, and my mom called Liam's mom to let her know. We called the police and reported it, but we never saw the stranger again. Maya and I still went out trick-or-treating the next year, but Liam had given up, terrified from that encounter. The eerie encounter of that Halloween night would forever haunt our memories, leaving us to wonder about the silent, enigmatic stranger who had followed us through the darkness. On Halloween night, I settled into my cozy living room, a bowl of candy by my side, ready to greet the little goblins and witches who would soon come knocking on my front door. My porch was adorned with glowing pumpkins, cobwebs, and flickering candles, clearly signaling that this was the designated spot for trick-or-treaters. But as I sat there, anticipating the first eager trick-or-treaters, an unsettling noise caught my attention. A loud and persistent banging echoed from the back of the house, startling me. I frowned and glanced at the clock. It was early in the evening, not even close to the time when kids usually went out for their candy hunt. Besides, my backyard was pitch black, unlit and uninviting, a far cry from the warm and welcoming Halloween tableau I'd set up in the front. I rose from my seat, candy bowl in hand, and made my way cautiously toward the back door. The banging continued, growing more intense with each thud. My heart pounded in my chest, a chilling dread creeping over me as I tried to fathom who could be out there and what did they want. The door itself rattled, as if someone was violently shaking the handle. I paused, my hand inches away from the doorknob, hesitating to open it. The relentless noise outside made my skin prickle with unease. This was not the night for unexpected visitors, especially not from the backyard. Taking a deep breath, I mustered the courage to peek through the window on the door. To my horror, I couldn't see anything, only darkness. No trick-or-treaters in sight, no explanation for the banging. Summoning my resolve, I slowly unlocked the door, cracked it open just a smudge, enough to see into the yard. The moment the door was ajar, the banging stopped abruptly. I strained my eyes to see if anyone was lurking in the shadows, but the darkness swallowed any hope of identifying an intruder. Just then, a frigid gust of wind swept into the house, knocking papers off a nearby table. Goosebumps pricked my arm, and a sense of dread washed over me. I hesitated for only a moment before slamming the door shut, locking it with trembling hands. I returned to my post at the front door, my sense of unease only growing stronger. Who or what had been trying to get in from the backyard, and why? My porch light continued to beckon the costumed children, but my mind remained fixed on the mystery that lurked in the darkness just beyond my back door. As the night wore on, and the cheerful laughter of trick-or-treaters filled the air, I couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister had tried to breach my home on this Halloween night. A mystery that would haunt my thoughts long after the candy bowl was empty and the porch lights dimmed. On Halloween night, my friend Alex and I decided to embrace the spooky spirit of the season and bought tickets to our community's annual haunt event. It was a harmless tradition, held in a vast corn maze carved out of a local farmer's field. Kids from all over town would wander through the maze at night, while volunteers in creepy costumes lurked in the corn stalks, trying to give everyone a good scare. It was all in good fun, or so we thought. The night began like any other. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the cornfield as we joined the line of excited kids and parents waiting to enter the maze. We could hear the distant laughter and screams of those who had already ventured inside, and the anticipation was electric. As we entered the maze, the rustling cornstalk seemed to whisper secrets, and the wind carried an otherworldly chill. We ventured deeper into the labyrinth, enjoying the adrenaline rush of being startled by costume figures jumping out at us. A mummy, a werewolf, and even a creepy clown provided the scares that we had expected. But then, things took a sinister turn. We came to a section of the maze that felt different, darker somehow. The laughter from other groups faded, and the moonlight barely reached us. It was as if we'd entered a shadowy realm within the maze. As we cautiously made our way through this eerie section, we noticed something odd. The scare actors here weren't like any others. They didn't just pop out for a quick scare and a laugh. These figures lingered in the shadows, watching us with unsettling intensity. A skeletal figure with hollowed eyes followed us silently, its bony fingers brushing against the cornstalks. A spectral ghoul drifted by, moaning softly. Even the pumpkin-headed scarecrow in the corner seemed to be watching our every move. We quickened our pace, trying to shake off the feeling of being watched, but the maze seemed to stretch endlessly. Panic began to creep in as we turned corner after corner, the eerie figures still in pursuit. Alex grabbed my arm, his voice trembling. "This isn't right. Something's off." I nodded in agreement, but before we could retreat, a blood-curdling scream pierced the night. We froze in terror, our flashlights revealing a gruesome sight. A group of costumed children had gathered around a figure in the center of the maze. It was one of the scare actors, but something was horribly wrong. The ghoul had collapsed to the ground, its mask beside him, revealing the horrified face of a real person underneath. Panic erupted as we realized that this was not part of the act. We joined the frantic crowd, trying to help, calling for an ambulance, and the eerie maze was soon flooded with flashing lights and the wail of sirens. As the paramedics arrived and took the injured scare actor away, the eerie atmosphere in the maze lifted, as if the sinister presence had dissipated. We left the maze, shaken, haunted by the events of that Halloween night. In the days that followed, we learned the scare actor had suffered a heart attack while trying to give kids a scare. It was a horrifying accident that shook our small community to its core, forever changing the way we looked at our beloved Halloween haunt. Rumors started to spread shortly afterwards that the scare actor had a heart attack due to being scared by something in the maze, something that wasn't supposed to be there. The story was different depending on who told it. Sometimes it was a ghost, sometimes it was a zombie or a witch or a devil. No one ever found out if there was any truth to the rumors, as the person claims they don't remember anything from that night. That night, we realized that sometimes the line between harmless fun and something truly sinister could blur, and the ghosts and ghouls of Halloween could be more real than we had ever imagined.